All right. Hey, everyone. Time for Puzzle Talk, the geocaching puzzle podcast brought to you by the Geocache Talk Network. If you'd like to become a patron, click on the Become a Patron heart on the front page of the Geocache Talk website, or you can head over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the now famous Blackout coin and other geocaching items during the year, well as bonus content, invites to special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as Bison Tube level, which is just $3 a month. Here are your hosts, Charles Watkins and Tom Brotherman. Good evening, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Evening.
Have y'all fully recovered from Podcast to Hope?
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Kinda.
I haven't recovered from work, though. Work's killing me right now.
Charles is recovering from lots of things.
Oh yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks, but yeah, we're getting there. So
That's good.
My luxurious hotel digs again
On the road.
I'm in Denver tonight. I've got about 50 grand worth of electronics equipment to pick up tomorrow morning, and then put it on a trailer and back over the mountain to the western slope with it. So here for a night.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, hopefully this will be the last time I have to do a show on the road for a while, but I'll be back over in the Denver area a couple more times, in the next 30 days or so. So.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. Yep. Thanks everybody for joining. We've got our Aussie. So good morning.
Wait, how many days are we out now, Gary?
From
Cashcon 2021.
Well, speaking of, I'll get you a total here in a minute. But speaking of, I have a new video to show about that. But real quickly, Hugh, thank you, sir. Yes. Getting in the Christmas spirit. Thank you, sir, from Canada.
Is it time to go Christmas shopping already?
Wait, we're supposed to buy stuff?
Yeah, well, you can. You don't have to. Just finding our way. He was a prize winner. So he got a coin and a path tag in the mail for Podcast to Hope. He was one of the winners. So there we go. Cash the line. He can help us out. I don't know, Jeff, how many days is it? Well, we have a lot of puzzlers on here. How many days from now till June 30th?
January 30th.
January 30th. Did I say what I say?
You said June.
June 30th. Yeah. How many days? No, I'm kidding. How many till January 30th? Yep. The Maple Leaf folk are in the building. The Canucks.
That's right.
Good.
Right.
Hey, Gary, let's argue with our Canadian friends or whatever. Y'all guys, would you please put the barbed wire fence back up and keep your cold up there where it belongs?
Yeah, it's cold down here. Somebody knocked the fence down. All right. Y'all ready for this?
No, there we go. 45 days is the happy ho dog.
Thank you, my friend. All right. And with that, here is the video. Big thanks to Derek for putting that together for us. And for those that haven't heard, there is a large Gigantor virtual conference worldwide, Cashcon 2021, on January 30th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central. I know that doesn't fit for everybody, but it is a Saturday, so we kind of hope that would
encourage more people to either A, get up early, or B, stay up past their bedtime.
Yeah. So
Or both.
Yeah, or both. Yeah. So more on that. We're working hard to get it all set up. I appreciate Brian spilling the beans during Podcast of Hope, and hopefully people will be encouraged to join in on each hour is different. So, and it's not like a podcast. So, if you know folks that, you guys like podcasts because you're watching this one, but if you have other cashers, they're like, I don't really like podcasts. You're like, well, this is different. So they might be more interested in the interviews and the different things that we're doing. And if you want to stay, yes, dress up like our favorite cash type. I like that, Pizza Ninja. I like that idea. You go, boy.
We expect pictures.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, yeah. And
ours will be questionable.
Yeah, really. Keep it family friendly.
Make sure it's not clear Tupperware.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Exactly. Don't give people ideas, Charles.
I just had a bad vision.
That's bad. It's real bad.
Oh.
We do have there's a link on the website. You can go check out. We'll put videos and we'll keep information out there. geocachtalk.com/WWCC21. And to let you know that at this time next week, we will be having a special show. No puzzle talk, no gadget talk. We're going to be breaking down the different hours of Cashcon and talking about a lot of the details for everyone. So come back stay tuned. But then next week, come right back, same time, same bat channel, and you will be able to find out more, and we'll give you as many details as we can. So, all right. Well, over to you guys for something interesting.
Hey, question.
Yeah.
Is there internet on the International Space Station?
Is there internet?
Well, of course there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got.
Well, then Cashcon just did
international.
So then Cashcon isn't just worldwide. Cashcon isn't just worldwide. It's out of this world.
Oh.
It's galactic.
It is worldwide.
Oh,
there it is, covering the globe for the constant variety of sports. The thrill of victory. The agony of defeat. So something interesting happened that these gentlemen decided, you know what? I think we can talk about that.
Absolutely. So, Tom, what happened?
Well, a long time ago when I was a kid, this bad dude did some bad stuff, and we're not going to talk about his bad stuff.
No.
But then he went and bragged about it using ciphers.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And one of those ciphers just got figured out recently, and so this is what? So this was about 50 years ago?
51 years ago.
Wow.
So it's been unsolved for 51 years. Traditionally, among people who have looked at the Zodiac Killer's ciphers and texts that he's put out, this has historically been known as the Zodiac 340. It's 340 characters long, and until a few days ago, had not been deciphered. So we'll go over a little bit of that. The Zodiac Cipher, the 340 cipher, there's still one out there that remains unsolved. So bear with us. But the 340, which was a really large cipher that was that he created and sent in was recently solved by 3 people. David Ornchok. I'm sure I'm going to butcher the names.
Dave.
Yeah, David is the guy who put the YouTube video together that is on the show notes that we'll publish, and we're going to show a couple of clips from his YouTube video. He is one of the people who broke the code, and he's from the USA. The first one, and he had 2 partners in all of this that helped him. One of them's name is Sam Blake. He's an applied mathematician from Australia. And the other,
Australia.
That's right. The Aussies representing here.
That's right.
And the other guy is Jarl van Eyck. He is a warehouse operator from Belgium. But what made
Belgium, go Belgium.
They make great beer.
Yay, Belgium.
So the EU is represented here as well. But what makes Jarl very special to this, even though he's a warehouse operator by day, and that's what pays his bills, he is an avid cryptologist and a program writer. And he's the guy who wrote the program that ultimately broke the cipher. And his program that he wrote is called AZ Decrypt. Fun mention here, AZ Decrypt is a free download that you can go out and find and download, or at least it used to be. I'm sure once all of this stuff breaks, start charging 99 cents a download, and he'll become wealthy and no longer have to work in a warehouse. But those are the 3 guys who solved the Zodiac 340 cipher. So there's they give a timeline breakdown. Let me scroll down in the show notes here because I wrote it down. All right, so the cipher was broken by the group in whole on December 3rd.
Yeah, not that long ago. I mean,
today's the 15th.
So, yeah.
Right.
You could pray your breaking news thing.
I know I should have.
They submitted their decrypted plain text to the FBI on December 5th. In the meantime, he created this YouTube video that was published on December 11th. Well, between December 5th and December 11th, the FBI had come out and confirmed that their decryption of the Zodiac 340 cipher was valid, was a good decryption, right? So they've come out and confirmed the decryption that these 3 guys came out and did. So,
yep.
Really breaking news stuff that, I mean, it just happened, and it's one of those ciphers that has been haunting people who have been trying to find more about the Zodiac Killer, who he was, maybe how to track him down. They've been obsessed with this one cipher for the last 50 years, and it's finally been broken. So groundbreaking stuff. We'll go show a couple of clips of the YouTube video that Dave put together, and so we can see how the cipher worked and whatnot. There's a misspelling in it, and we'll go over that as well.
Yeah.
But really cool stuff for people who are either into puzzles and ciphers and whatnot, which is us, which is everybody who should be here. And if you're not into puzzles and ciphers, hopefully some of this sparks an interest in you to where you become that.
No, I'm actually interested. I really am.
And the other group that this really appeals to is historians or like cold case people who try to solve cold cases, because obviously we still haven't ever caught who the Zodiac Killer was. We don't know who he was.
Yeah.
Assuming it's a he.
Could be she.
And so it's kind of interesting to read the entire decrypted 340 character text, knowing when it was given to the San Francisco Police Department and what happened in the days just prior to this cipher being delivered to them. So we're not going to show the entire 14 minute video that David produced. But please, if you are interested in this, he gives a lot of thanks in the beginning to people who helped him. He gives a lot of thanks and honorable mentions to some people who really helped his team of 3 in the end be able to solve and break this. This wasn't done solely by him and his team. There were lots of outside influences that helped shift, and you see that shift to
gotcha.
the correct direction. And he mentions all of them. And so it's worth watching the video, if nothing else, to go in and look at some of the guy who Jarl's program, AZ Decrypt, is based on a previous decryption software that was written, and they mention it in the video. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what it is, but it was another decryption program that helped break some of this stuff. So it's always kind of cool to get in and see some of this stuff and how it works. So yeah, I mean, just happened. Breaking news stuff.
Breaking news.
After 51 years. Dun, 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 dun.
Sharing screen. While you're getting your screen set up there, Charles, Jeff says that he added the application to his puzzle solving hub. I assume, Jeff, you're referring to ref.wikibruce. I assume so, but that's one of our anchor places for that. If you need me to, Charles, I can share it if you need me to.
No, I got it right.
Got it? Okay, cool. Oh, okay, you all set. All right, good. Sorry.
I just had to scroll through the video. So this
I don't blame you.
What you're looking at here is let me see what you're looking at. All right, hang on.
And you can make it full screen.
Let me full screen it.
Yep.
There you go. Is that better? Yeah. All right.
That's good.
This is the 340 character text that's broken down. You can see there is a top section, a middle section, and 2 lines at the bottom. Originally, when this was sent out, it was all jammed together and was one giant text file. There was no separation. So this is something that the team did, and this we're fixing to play will show you the how the shift works for this cipher.
Right. What's that, Tom?
I want to point out something here that I just thought about.
Yeah.
Remember, this is 50-something years ago. So you look at this now, you think, okay, that's wingdings or whatever like that. This wasn't done on a computer. This is done on a typewriter, which makes me wonder,
well,
where did he get the character thing?
Or did he draw it? I wonder if he drew it.
Or did he draw it? Yeah, I guess he could have drawn it.
They were all handmade characters.
That's
and
crazy.
There's 63 individual characters in total in all of this. They all appear in the first breakdown, the first section of this, but 63 individual characters, and you figure that they translate to a 26-letter alphabet. So,
oh my gosh, I see my name in it. Second paragraph, third line, just off center to the right.
Well, yeah, it does say Tom there.
Hey, Nancy, I think the name of what you're looking for maybe is AZ Decrypt.
Right, AZ Decrypt is the name of the program,
the app, yeah,
that Jarl created. So let's look at this, and this will break us down on how the shift worked that got them through this.
Yes.
Regardless, handwritten or not, it wasn't done with a computer.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
9
did you
long.
make sure?
Was the second section.
There you go.
Then there are 2 lines in the third and last section. In Sam's manipulation of the cipher, he reads through all the symbols in a diagonal direction, following this rule. First, start in the upper left corner, write out that symbol, move down 1, and then move over 2. Write out that symbol. Continue until you get to an edge. Then jump around to the opposite edge and keep going. Then you'll have a rewritten cipher that looks like this. So I put that first manipulated section of the cipher into AZ Decrypt, hoping it would solve it, but it didn't come up with anything useful. The phrases, hope you are trying to catch me, and gas chamber didn't even appear again. But those phrases came up before, so I plugged those into AZ Decrypt using what's called a crib feature. Basically, you can lock in words at specific positions. Then the solver leaves those words alone while it searches for the rest of the key. So here goes. I clicked on Solve with Cribs, and boom, suddenly got a really clean message. And the phrase, that wasn't me on the TV show, pops out. At this point, I jumped out of my chair and yelled, holy shit. It's because I knew the cipher was received on November 8, 1969, which is about 2 weeks after someone calling themselves Zodiac called into a TV talk show hosted by Jim Dunbar and featuring the famous lawyer Melvin Belli.
Okay, so there goes the part about the timeline that makes some of the stuff that is in this important. In the end, the Zodiac Killer never gives us any identifiable information about who they were, right? Male, female, age, race, religious affiliation, political affiliation, nothing. In the end, it's just more attention-seeking stuff, right? It took us 51 years to figure out that there's absolutely gibberish in it in the end that doesn't help us solve any of the crimes.
Right.
I did read today, he said, the guy said that his name is in one of the ciphers. So I guess it's the one that's not solved, or he's got it in some part they haven't deciphered yet.
And there's the cipher that hasn't been decrypted yet is only like 13 letters, right? And so your chances of knowing the key and knowing how to solve that are very limited with only like 13 letters or 14 letters. It's not a very long group of text letters.
You don't have any pattern. I mean, that's the point of having more info. You can look for patterns.
Right. And so you look at it, this 340 character text took us 51 years to find the pattern in it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's but knowing that timeline, in the end, the guy who called into the show said that he needed help and he was afraid to die and didn't want to go to the gas chamber. Right. And in the very first part about this decryption that was done, it said, that was not me on the TV show. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber.
Right. So there you go. Yeah, it's part of the, yeah.
So now you know that the guy who called into the TV show way back in the day was a fraud. And this was Zodiac coming out specifically to debunk that. It's just taken us 51 years now to know that the guy who called into the TV show was garbage. We can throw all of that out the window.
Yeah.
But in the end, we're not any closer to figuring out who this guy was.
No. And, Jeff kind of points that out that, there may be not even, if there is, because he doesn't give, it's not like he wants to be caught. He wanted more like an attention. And he thought, ooh, it would be, I'll put something, but he did a legitimate, the cipher is legit. It's not gibberish.
Right. Yeah.
He puts it out there where if you're smart enough, you can figure it out and maybe catch me.
Well, it took a while.
So there's a slight bit of danger in there, and that's what gets him excited.
Yeah, and
Part of it.
And going back to what you said, Tom, this was submitted 51 years ago, long before mass computers that could go through and hard decrypt this the way that they did. And by the way, we'll just throw this out there. We were talking about it before the show started, but they solved this by sheer dumb luck. Like, they just got lucky in one of the multiple runs of this through AZ Decrypt that they actually got certain words that decrypted correctly.
Yeah.
And then they went in and you saw that with that crib feature, they locked those words in.
Yeah.
In the end, they've solved this thing and they've decrypted it. They still don't know what the key is.
Yeah. And you're talking about, you and I would think, oh, well, they ran it a couple thousand times. No, it was like hundreds of thousands of times.
Yeah, if not up into the millions that they ran this thing. I mean, and this is not the first program that was used to try to solve this cipher either. So it was built off of the ground framework of another computer solver that hadn't popped out something correctly. So we're going to fast forward in the video clip real quick and look at the last two lines. We're skipping that middle section, and we're skipping it for a reason, because there's a typo in the in that middle section, and they found the typo and they fixed it and then decrypted it all. So we'll get into that middle section with the mistake, the misplaced letter, however we want to look at it. And we'll look at that here in just a minute. But let's jump in. This is talking about the last two lines in the of the ciphertext.
Two lines. This is what the last two lines look like when you apply the same substitution key. First thing we noticed is it has some normal looking words in it. I will, easy, and death. Very strange. Why would words appear normally? It's inconsistent from the diagonal reading order we did for the other two parts. But look at this piece. It looks like it says paradise, but spelled backwards. He used that word several times in his letters, spelled the exact same way, including in the solution for the first cipher. So if you look, there are other reversed words. First, let's put some spaces between them. Then let's put the reversed ones back to normal. Now it says, life will be an easy one in paradise, death. That seems like a pretty good interpretation, and it reinforces the solution we found for the first part, because the same substitution key produced two sections of plain text that makes sense.
Okay, so let me pop that out of there. So it's kind of neat. So not only does he have this diagonal wraparound that you have to decode, now he's throwing words spelled backwards into it. And he did that in his first cipher that got decrypted rather quickly once they put it out in the newspaper. Back in the day, a lot of people were interested in this and put help in to solve the first cipher that he put out there, and it was solved rather quickly once it was published in the newspapers. So he made this one much more complex. That not only is it got the diagonal text in it, but now they're backwards spelled words and whatnot. So he at some level, you almost think that he doesn't want it to be solved. I mean, he did, otherwise he wouldn't have put it out there.
Right.
But he's made it so hard that 51 years has gone by without it being solved. So
what's interesting, as I'm thinking about puzzle caches, one of the things too that I always forget about, but something that people can remember to do, is if you're going to make a puzzle cache, you don't always have to have words for you. You could put reverse words. North could be backwards. I mean, if you're wanting to make maybe not something this difficult,
a higher difficulty.
Yeah. But for a higher difficulty, you might want to think about, they don't have to be straightforward. They could be backward. You could have misspelled words as long as it's potentially solvable in the sense that if people can figure it out, they can read. You don't have to have north spelled out. You could take out the O. You could have an NRTH. People will figure out that's north or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
This that Jeff brings up is very good. It goes to show that a couple of mistakes in a pattern can throw off an automated algorithm. It's good for human eyes, but not for the machine. And he's right. And in this next section we're going to look at of this video, it covers that middle 9 lines of ciphertext, which is where the mistake happens. They realize that there's a mistake because they're getting misspelled words. But once they realize, when they look at it, it shows you that all of the letters for the misspelling are all on the same line of ciphertext. And they said, well, I guess let's just watch the
Show that bean footage.
we'll show that section, and here we go. This is the middle 9 sections of ciphertext with the misplaced letter. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leaves us with the second part. The decryption didn't look quite right yet and has some recognizable words in it. We thought maybe, since this message seems close, that there was some mistake or error in the transcription or in the encipherment. That is, the rule we are using to read out the message doesn't quite work perfectly because of some mistake Zodiac might have made when he created the cipher. So we decided to look at what corrections need to be made to fix the cipher. The first thing we discovered is that many spelling mistakes happen on the same line. For example, these words are misspelled. OOW should be now. ENSUGH should be enough. Slaver should be slaves. And FOV should be for. The problem letters are OSVR. They are all on the same line. To fix the spelling, you have to change those letters to NOSR. But notice that NOSR is on the same line, but is shifted 1 position to the left. I sent this observation to Jarl, and he discovered if you shift this entire section to the right and move the H from the end to the beginning, it fixes the spelling of many words. We also noticed how life is appears in the clear, up in the upper right corner. Jarl also discovered that if you ignore this section when applying the diagonal reading rule, the message in this part is even more clear. So, now we go through the reading rule like this.
As it starts to break it down diagonally.
And remember, we are going to skip the life is part.
Oh, so you skip parts. Okay.
And here's the resulting message. And with some minor corrections, we finally have this. Sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that mine knew. Jarl supposed that Zodiac may have intended for the extra words life is to be placed at the end of the message, so it reads, I am not afraid because I know that my new life is.
All right, so you can see where just having one character off, and that character was in the middle of the ciphertext.
Yikes.
So that throws everything at the middle and beyond it all off just because of one letter and one mistake. And to go back to what Jeff said, it's that human eye that caught it. They sat there and looked at it and said, all right, so this one whole line is what's throwing this all off. And if you just move this, and so somewhere in the encipherment, when Zodiac was encoding the message,
Right.
he got a letter, they got a letter wrong somewhere.
Right. Messed it up.
And that threw the entire rest of And so that's why in the video, they talk about the first section, they talk about the last two lines, and then they come back to this middle section. And that's why, because there was a mistake in it.
Yeah, they also added in there was that life is part. So it's almost like, to even make it even harder, the whole thing isn't neat, compact cipher. He added in, because remember how you notice they skipped life is and they kept going on their diagonal, their shift. They skipped over life is because they noticed that life is was in a sense already decrypted.
Correct. So here is the entire deciphered text, decoded and back into plain text. We'll throw this up here and let these guys.
I hope you are having lots of fun and trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise, death.
All right, and so that's what the 340 character text says. Now, David does go on to say that the last little bit really doesn't read right, even though
Right.
the cipher key deciphers it that way. He did say that there is the possibility that the last two lines, that the way they decrypted it could possibly leave up some interpretation to how it's supposed to be read. That reading that he just did in the video is exactly how the text decrypts with the software that they used. And it works throughout the entire cipher, including the one misplaced letter. So it's important to know that that even though they think that it reads kind of wonky at the very end, they still submitted it to the FBI, and the FBI still has come out and said, hey, we agree that we think that this is a valid cipher. They obviously sent in all of their documentation on how the decryption worked. You know, the FBI verified it, and the FBI has come out and stated that that is the deciphered text. So oh, there you go. So this is what Jeff just threw in the chat room. So someone mentioned that the last line should read, I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise. Life is death. And Jeff's right. Punctuation, not having, interpreting text, not being able to put emotion or inflection. If you just read it plain Jane, like the Peanuts teacher, wah, 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 right? If you just read it monotone, it's very hard to put emotion into some of this stuff. And at the time, he was probably pretty hyped up because the hoaxy guy that was on the TV sitting there saying that he was scared, didn't want to die, and was scared of the gas chamber, which kind of made him seem a little weak at the time. I'm sure that probably got under this person's skin like no other.
He's gonna write it. Yep.
So having no punctuation, not knowing where to take pauses, breaks, where the end of a thought was, where it's not, is hard to do with some of this stuff, especially with, a long text thing like this, just because it does just kind of ramble. It's like one giant run-on sentence that I used to write in like 8th grade English that, so that's it. That's the cipher. That's the plain text of what was encoded in its whole. The AZ Decrypt is available for download. I'm sure somewhere in the video they might mention where to get it. In the video, he does give a bunch of, in the text body on YouTube, he does give a lot of other thanks and website links and stuff like that. So we may be able to figure out where to get the AZ Decrypt. But I
did put it in the show notes. There's a site that's legit that you can go to download it.
Yeah, and so I can definitely see in the future some people are going to make some Zodiac themed puzzle caches based off of this new 340 text. And speaking of
Tom,
Well, I was going to ask though, what do you think that if we made a cache out of this, what would the difficulty be? About a 17, 18?
Well, I mean,
out of this particular one, it took 51 years.
Well, and I would probably think that now that we know the style to decrypt it, you probably would be able to do that fairly easily. The problem with some of that is again, it's 63 characters. So some letters are doubled up with different symbols. This is a handmade alphabet, even though there are people in there that have gone in and made a computer text of this so that you can take each symbol and kind of move it around. We still don't know what the key is that would solve this, right?
Yeah.
They figured it out because they ran it through the decryptor and a couple of plain text like sentences or groups of words came out. And so they left that and deciphered it. And then they were like, oh, hey, we figured it out. We still don't know what the key is, right? And so that therein lies one of the issues. That's going to be part of this is you have to be able to, in order for you to, generally speaking, in order for you to solve something as complex as this, you need to know the key. Right, Benjamin or Tom?
You usually, yeah.
So
I'm wondering if the key maybe is the guy's name.
I don't know, and I don't know if the 13 or whatever the or 15-digit text in the third one that still hasn't been solved, if they're gonna be able to solve it based on what was done with the 340 text. They haven't come out and said anything about that yet. They just said that with the shortened amount of letters in there, that being able to solve it's gonna be super hard to do, even with the first two ciphers decrypted now.
I'm sure Jeff's going to throw this in his wiki brews. He found a German cipher tool already set up for Zodiac Killer. So I'll have to check that. I know you're going to get to Tom's.
I was going to say though, some of the other ciphers like Vigneer and Beaufort and some others, if you go to decode.
I was going to. I'm going to bring it up.
You can put the cipher in there, and it will brute force it and figure out the key for you.
Here's the site I was going to bring up real quick. So this site, which is on Wikibrews,
I use this a lot.
It has a lot of good info because you've got a multiple shift decoder here, progressive shifting, alternate shifting.
Go up there to the upper left and start typing Vigneer.
Right here?
No, over to your left.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Oh, and find the Vigneer. The Vigneer cipher?
Yeah. And click on that one.
We're probably not saying it right, but yeah.
And then you scroll down. I think that's one that's got the brute force and.
Yeah, but it's got. So you got some encoders, keys. You can change up the alphabet, preserve punctuations.
That's the encoder. Go back up and you have the decoder, and it's got. I thought this was one that had the brute force. Well, there's a few of them here that have a brute force thing, and it'll figure out it'll solve the cipher for you and give you the key.
Close that down.
Right. Yeah, there are a few that will do that. That if it can brute force solve it, it will give you the key if it can figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's pronounced visionaire.
Visionaire.
So
The Visionaire cipher.
that's right. So all right. So we're gonna pull this up. I haven't looked at it much. I don't think Tom has either. It's one that Gary found and threw in the show notes. But it's worth mentioning. If you're over in Europe, it's worth going. It's in Finland, in fact. So we've got a geocache that.
Don't make me big. You scare people off.
Sorry, I did that. I dragged it on the way across. So let me see this one.
Yeah, you're right. Zodiac isn't, but we wanted to mention other shifts that you can do other than the typical
And brute force. Yeah, and brute force and a key.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Jeff.
All right, so this is a cache called Zodiac Killer. It's a difficulty 3, terrain 2. It is GC74XX6.
Even without seeing the name of it up there, as soon as I saw the background, I knew it was Zodiac.
Right.
That's his symbol.
And so here is the. I'm sure this section right here at the very top is finish. So you can easily take that in and Google Translate it to figure out what he's trying to tell you. But then you get into the Zodiac text that is a handmade text. I would assume that this cipher, because the cache page was this published in 2019. So I would assume that the Zodiac text in this is based off of the first Zodiac cipher.
Right. Yeah, because he didn't know 340 was it was
Right.
No, this wouldn't be the first. This is like the second or third one, because I think the first one he had 10 or 12 on it, so he's up to 38 on this one.
Okay, yeah, right, 38, but not the 340 because that was just a few days ago. But yeah, I follow what you're saying.
So the Zodiac Killer sent 3 different ciphers to the newspaper in San Francisco, right? The first one, or to the police department in San Francisco. The first one they submitted to the newspaper got published across the United States and got solved within a week. I'm assuming that this alphabet for this cache is based off of that first cipher that was solved. I haven't confirmed that, but that would be my guess, knowing that we know what the alphabet is for the very first encryption. We know the key and we know all of that, because and he used the same style of alphabet, so the same homemade letters. So I would think that first cipher that was published in the newspapers and was solved within about a week is what they're using as the base for all of this. I could be completely wrong. There are lots of Zodiac alphabets and solvers out there. So at least, I mean, if you're in Finland, why not? I mean, I might try and solve this here this weekend, and I can't tell you the next time I plan on being in Finland.
We get the Mad Finn to go find it, right? We can sign it. He can sign it for us.
That's right. So,
but if you look at the geo checker down there, which is different looking than the normal ones, I guess. But anyway, you notice that it's about 60-40. So maybe you're right in the sense that, I mean, it's hard, but it's not too hard. I mean, 60% are putting the right coordinates in the checker.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, this next cache that we're going to show you is a now archived cache that belongs to Sir Tom.
Mr. Tom.
And we'll let him, we're going to bring it up and show you the cache page. There are obvious clues in here. And then we're going to let Tom talk about how he created this cache and whatnot. And he's got the steps to show you how to unscramble it all. So let me...
I'll put it in the show notes.
Well, let me talk the background of it. So similar to this, where a cipher that's 51 years old finally gets solved, and now you got an explanation how to do it. Another cipher came out. It was written by Thomas or James, and I can't remember his first name. James Patterson. I'll just say Patterson, for Thomas Jefferson. And it wasn't solved or broken for 200 years. And finally, a guy with a bunch of computers finally got it figured out. And there was an article about it in the Wall Street Journal, and on their website, they had a PowerPoint showing how this cipher worked. And so, and it was pretty, I don't say super easy, but it's easy to follow. I'll put it that way. It's not an easy cipher to break. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken 200 years. But with somebody showing you how to do it, it's pretty easy.
Right.
And so the gears were well oiled in my head that day, and I decided I had to put this thing together. I had to hide how I wanted to do it. Just needed to come up with a storyline. And so you can see at the top, I call it executive order. So that's kind of a clue in itself right there, that it's something who does executive orders, the president.
Right.
All right. Scroll down. I tell you, it's not in the highway. Don't go play in the highway. I've got a picture there of Jefferson and Patterson, and we just assume that third guy there is Franklin. And I'm going to bring it up on my screen too, because that's too small for me to read.
You're okay. Yep.
So I tell you, the first thing there, the guys could use a maid. It's a mess. Tell you who they are, but it's Robert Patterson.
Robert Patterson. Yep.
Then I go down and tell you about Jefferson. that he's on our money at schools, banks. His name's everywhere. Signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was a president. Made a heck of a land deal to pick up Louisiana so we could get some Cajun food. Typical EWB baloney stuff.
That's right.
But did you know he was an official with the American Philosophical Society, and he was into ciphers? And that's where this next guy comes in, Patterson. And, you've never heard of him. I said, what, you never heard of him? He was an official at the American Philosophical Society, too. Created this cipher, took over 200 years to crack. So the guy who cracked it was a genius and used a bunch of computers. And I said, I'm guessing you have the computers, but are you a genius? And do you have 200 years? Well, I said, oh, well, remember the guy who invented it didn't have 200 years, didn't have a computer, and for sure, darn sure didn't have the internet.
Yep.
So then we scroll down, and there's Ben Franklin holding a key up, about to win a Darwin Award. So I say, Ben Franklin, well known as a signer of the Declaration of Independence, also known for flying a kite in a thunderstorm with a key hanging on the string. Not the brightest of experiments, as some recreators have found out over the years. Don't recreate it unless you want a Darwin Award.
Yep.
He was. Now this next part, I'm just going to jump way ahead on this. This next part was all about the hide. This was clues for the hide.
Right.
He also wrote Poor Richard's Almanac. Wouldn't be so poor if he'd get a job. I got that in bold, or
Right.
not. I didn't bold it, but uppercase, all caps. So that was kind of like, hey, this. You should pay attention to that.
That's right.
And a little lesser known fact was he liked to, in his words, take air baths. And I said, yes, that means he liked to take his clothes off and lay out in the sun when he should have been working. Which is a bunch of baloney to get you to this next line. Guess he was green before green was cool. So that when you got to ground zero, this would make more sense because it was on the side of a convenience store, and there was the newspaper type vending machine kind of things with the freebie ones, and there was a green one there with unemployment stuff in it, job stuff in it. So that's all that was about there.
That's all clues for
That's-
GZ. That's cool.
Yeah.
So then you get to, here's the cipher right here. And this update just tells you, when I first put this out, when I started geocaching, I did not know diddly squat about how to do web stuff. And I certainly didn't know how to do a table. So I had this as a picture, which meant people had to type all this stuff out. Well, then I learned how to make tables, and I've kept the picture down there, but which we'll need to get to in a minute. But converted this so you could take this now. You can do you can highlight it and copy it into Excel, which would be very useful.
Yeah.
Keep scrolling down. I added a checker later on. It said all the clues are up above. And then when you get to the pictures down here, I got it. Are you scroll down to you scroll down to the pictures. I got to look on mine too.
I have a quick question before you go any further real quick.
Yeah.
Because the checker still work even though the cache is archived?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's good to know. Okay. Back to Tom.
Okay. So every one of these pictures a couple of them have the name of the picture and then some stuff written under it. So the three messy guys, they need them made. Well, that's not important. And you got Ben Franklin with some numbers, and Patterson with numbers, and Jefferson with some numbers. And then there's a cipher. That's just the original picture I had for the cipher.
Right.
Well, those numbers are a key, but which is the right set?
I'm willing to bet it's the Darwin Award guy because he's holding a key.
And he had nothing to do with ciphers. Didn't tell you anything about ciphers, but he's just holding a key.
Maybe the chat room could take a guess because they should be able to guess based on the information we've given. Which of the keys is the correct key, not the guy holding the key. Remember what Tom said at the very beginning. And what's at the very beginning?
No, it's the guy holding the key.
I thought it was the executive order.
It's
But
the guy holding the key is Benjamin.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the executive
So the
order.
executive order stuff was.
that was to get you along the lines of this 100-year-old cipher that the president had received. So,
okay. Sorry, I thought that the president one was the key.
No, Benjamin's a key. That's why he's up there holding the key.
That's why he's holding the key. Okay, you did make it. You did make it simple. Then I was thinking that I was going to do an end run and go to the executive of the list because none of them are executives except Jefferson.
So I am going to say I won't drop the guy's name and embarrass him, but a very well-known puzzle solver in our state. I'll make it big. Our state had a hard time just finding the keys. I said it's on the cast page, and it took him when he finally found the stuff. He had a big duh moment, but
duh.
All right, so
I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So Tom has this built into an Excel spreadsheet, and he can pull it up and share it with y'all to show the steps that you need to take to solve this in Excel, and how you could go about making one of these for yourself.
All right, let's go back to step one. So step one, you would copy that cipher into Excel. And you notice I've put every letter in its own little cell.
Yep.
And then I've put over to the side, there's 13 columns, 21 rows. That's going to come in handy here in a minute. So step 2, you got to figure out which key to use. Well, we've already figured out it's Mr. Franklin here. So there's your key. These other 2 are just baloney stuff. Step 3 is, what do you do with the key? So we got Ben Franklin. I broke it up. Here's the numbers. I broke it up a little different here. The first number, the 3, the 1, the 4, the 6, the 7, that's going to be your row rearrange stuff.
Ooh.
The second number is for a shift. So step 4, you take that key and write it down the side of this thing. So 3, 1, 4, 6, 7, 5, 2. There's seven digits. Remember, this had 21 rows.
Oh, yeah.
That's divisible by 7. So you write the key down here 3 times.
Yep.
All right. Now we're going to go step 5. We're going to rearrange it. So we move this 1 and 3. You're going to see, look here, 1 BCV is going to move up to 3. ADN will move down to the 3rd. And you do that in all 3 sections. Okay. Step 6, you're going to add the second key. That was the second half. So the 1, 3, 2, and the same deal. It's 7 digits, and you write it 3 times down here. I just did it this way. I deleted a letter off each of them. Or space. So that took off 1, that took off 3, that took off 2.
Right. So it corresponds to the second digit in your key. To how many letters to delete from each row.
Right. And then you shift everything to the left. And now it spells out, congratulations for solving the cache. And you'll get right down to here. That's where it ends. The rest of this is just filler to make it work.
Yep.
So the PowerPoint I saw showed how to solve it, like we just went through here. So to create it, I had to work. You just take that PowerPoint and work it backwards. So if you were going to create this yourself, you write out the thing here, add some filler. Now I'm going to shift everything. I'm going to shift this one over 1, this one over 3, that over 2. Boom. So now all this stuff here,
yeah,
I'm going to add filler on this side.
Boom.
I can skip that part because that's where I put the key in. I mean, that first. Yeah. Now I'm going to write these numbers here. 1 through 7. I'm going to rearrange it. That's the first part of the key.
Right.
And then, so that gives me that part right there.
So
Any questions? There's going to be a test. Solve my puzzle.
So you just gave him the key, which is cool, but you could hide. You could even go. You could be more evil.
If you did not give the key to this thing, you better have a boatload of computers to do this for you.
Well, I'm saying you could hide the key inside the cache page somewhere. And
yes.
then,
Well, and so this is the fun part about this is that he gives you 3 different keys.
Right.
Right. You have to pick which one is the right one. Then once you figure out which one's the right one, then you have to know what to do with the key.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's where the PowerPoint slide that the Washington New York
Times. If when this first came out, if you had searched Jefferson Patterson Cipher, you probably would have come up with that Wall Street Journal article, and it'd walk you right through it.
So it got to be later on, right? But you did it before the article.
No, I did it right after the article came out. That's
okay. So people could.
And there's still a few of these kind of ciphers around the country. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you knew where to look, with the clues that he had given you, you could have found the PowerPoint that showed you how to decrypt the puzzle.
Gotcha.
He archived the cache because the PowerPoint slide has gone MIA.
That
Yeah,
right.
the PowerPoint's
article-
gone, and so is the hiding spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the page, obviously the journal now, pretty much after you go there a couple times is going to want you to pay, which
The actual article talking about it is still there, but the PowerPoint explaining it's not. Now I found some
okay.
other sites that kind of sort of walk you through it, but the visual that PowerPoint was really good.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I saw the walkthrough on the cipher. All I had to do was come up with a baloney storyline, and I'm pretty good at that part. So
So yeah, and that's another. It was a different style of puzzle but it had a shift in it, which is where
two shifts.
which is where this Zodiac came in. It had a first letter down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, right? And it did that, but it broke it into sections. And so just like Tom's, where he's got 3 sections of 7, the Zodiac's has 2 sections of 9 and a section of 2, but it still all works.
Right.
Tom gives you the key. You have to then know what to do with the key. Just simply having the key won't get you there.
Sure.
You have to know what to do with the key at that point. I have a puzzle cache at the public library in Odessa, Texas, that the book is in the reference section. You're not supposed to be able to check it out of the library, though the last time I went there, it was checked out of the library. Which is
reference book. It's not supposed to be able to.
Which is funny because the guy who had sent me a message about not understanding what my cipher code was on the cache page, I just told him, I said, the first 3 letters that you're going to decrypt are this. And so if you can figure out how to get those first 3 letters, then you should be golden. The book has since been checked back into the library because I called them and said, when this book comes in, I want you to call me so that I can come and check it out. And they said, sure, we'll do that. It got checked in a couple of weeks later. I never went to check it out because I was back in Colorado, but the book was back at the library, and it still hasn't been solved since then, since I went to do cache maintenance on the cache.
Right.
The cache was still there, all in good shape and whatnot, but hadn't been solved since. So, I straight up give you the key and the book. But if you don't know how to decrypt the book cipher, then you're looking at a bunch of scrambled numbers on a page. And if you don't know what to do with the key, then having the key sometimes is irrelevant, because I've had people contact me and say, there's not enough clues in there's not enough, hint for us to figure this out. There's not enough. And I straight up give you the entire code on the cache page. You just have to know what to do with it. And that's the hard part. Tom gave you the key. He gave you multiple keys. So you have to figure out which one's the right one. Then once you figure out which one's the right one, you got to know what to do with it. And that's the hard part. Simply having the key sometimes is not enough to get you to the finish line.
Yeah.
In the case of the 340 text, we still don't even know what the key is. We solved it by sheer dumb luck and brute force.
Yeah.
And the FBI has come back and said, yeah, we concur. That's correct. Which is hard because you still don't know what the key is.
Yeah.
They may know.
They brute forced it, so that's good.
Yeah, they may figure out what the key is, and so it works.
But you know what the hard part of your puzzle is? It's a 5-hour drive from my house.
That's the hard part.
I even give you the book I give you enough clues in what the book is and who wrote it that this version of the book, and you got to remember, my mom was a public school teacher for 30 years, right? And so the book is written by an author named Gage, and you can actually surf the card catalog for the Ector County Public Library and figure out what book that is, what version of it is. And there's actually an online version of this book that's available to people getting a doctorate in education. And you can actually solve the puzzle if you know what to do with it online, because I've had several people that have sent me messages saying, hey, I found this book online. Is this the right one? And I just tell them, I say, flip to, I have a note for me on my cache page on my end of it. And I say, flip to this page is the first, sentence, say, read this. And if the first sentence reads this, then you have the correct version of the book. And lo and behold, the correct version is online, and you can actually solve it without ever going to the Ector County Public Library. I just think it's kind of neat to get in there and do some old school detective work with an actual paper book and flip pages.
Yeah.
But since the book was checked out last time I was there, I haven't been able to scrub it to see if people have underlined letters throughout the book, on the correct pages. So that was my big push in going to look for it, was I was going to erase any marks that were made in the book.
I might be able to let you know later this month.
There you go. I did put, if you want a little more information on the one that, this particular one, the Patterson Cipher, I did find an interesting article. I put it in the show notes, but it talks about this is not a substitution cipher, and kind of goes through the details of why it's not, and talks about the deciphering and the analysis of it. So pretty good little article. So that's interesting to look through.
Oh, I like the website for it, cryptania.web.
I know, isn't that cool?
Yeah, Cryptania. And I see that the AZ Decrypt website, the majorgeeks.com/files /details/AZ Decrypt.html is in the show notes. So anybody who wants to go and look at the AZ Decrypt, download a version of it, and try your hand at some of this, it's there. And if you do this, no lie, if one of our viewers goes out and creates a puzzle cache based off of the 340 text using the AZ Decrypt software that they've downloaded, and they send into our email address a copy of the GC code once it's published, I'll send them one of my Pathfinder 33 trackables. You just need to get in there and send us an email to puzzletalkpodcast@gmail.com with a GC code once the cache has published, and then I'll get back to you and ask for your address and whatnot, and I'll mail you one of my trackables off in the mail for your hard work in creating a new puzzle cache for the puzzle solving community.
Yay! Woo. Awesome.
And that's good for the audio listeners as well. Audio listeners are in this as well. Shoot me an email once you have got it published, and I may take the first couple. If we get a couple in, real close to each other, then I'm liable to send a couple of them out. So make a fun puzzle for the puzzle solving community based off of the Zodiac 340 text and the AZ Decrypt, and we will we'll feature it in a show down the road, and then we'll send you one of my trackables for making the puzzle caching community a little better.
Yep, that's perfect.
Did we say the GC code for mine out loud, or did
Yeah.
we just? Okay.
I put it in the show notes, but
I put it in the show notes, but for
we
the
put-
audio people, GC1 WBMR.
There you go. Yeah, also put it in the chat room, but you're right. For the audio listeners, give that one again.
GC1 WBMR.
Okay. WBMR, water, bison,
And mystery.
rating.
There you go, rating.
I did have to cheat on my cheat sheet. So.
I thought it'd be Waterboy Mike Reed.
Hey, that's the way I remember the Geo Woodstock in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Boy, Water Queen.
Oh gosh.
So, all right. So,
We're done.
yeah, I think we're done.
Put a fork in us.
Put a fork in it. All right. Thanks, guys. That was a good show. Appreciate you guys doing that.
Be creative when you write your cash up.
Yep. Thanks, chat room, for being there as well. That was a good time. All right, here we go.